what I was really feeling like I wanted to say was like, what I respect is authenticity.
Mm.
And that should be the thing that we're, trying to win, not the beauty contest, is like the authenticity prize. Like just be yourself.
Well, let's start with the last time kind of saw you in the UK, of course, which was Download. I mean, I've been to that festival many, many times. I honestly don't think I've ever seen a crowd that big on that stage. Like it was a sea of people going absolutely nuts, and it's a real testament to your relationship with the UK over the years and everything. But just talk me through that moment. I know you've played that festival so many times, but I don't know, that looked extra special to me, that one this year.
It was. It really was. It's hard to sum up. Like part of the energy for me was just backstage throughout the day, because we have played that festival for the last 20 years. I guess we were there in 2003, right?
Yeah.
When it was the first one back, and I remember that. I remember 2003 and I think 2004, it being kind of terrifying. And I remember Iron Maiden and just other really big and also really heavy bands. And I remember being like the only female around. And it's just weird because I was also a kid and I just remember being really intimidated, like, oh crap, like this is going to be a heavy crowd and I don't know what they're going to think about this. And it was always an amazing experience where at the end I'm like, yeah, victory, but this time was so different in the day leading up to it because I've just seen it's just so clear the positive and awesome empowering change, on one hand, just as a woman in rock and heavy music, there were so many bands that had women in them, and so many of them that were either friends or people I hadn't met before that were up and coming and just wanted to say hey, and like they knew our music or were influenced by it somehow, which is just really incredible. It felt like, wow, just a beautiful full circle thing. And also, I don't know if I already said this at some point, but like I got my nails done backstage. Like
Nice.
it's such a different vibe. Like, so of feeling like an outsider to feeling fully like I belonged where I was, like that was the feeling. And we were all happy and hanging out with friends and supporting each other and going to other stages. So when it came time to do the show, I was just happy. Like I already was just feeling happy and completely opposite of nervous, just like, oh, I can't wait to do this. It was really dusty. There was all this dust everywhere. So we're back there, like, I'm like this, like, don't get my face messed up. And then we went out, and the crowd was just like a roar of just awesome, like as far back as I could see. And it was, the second stage.
Yeah.
So, it was really great. It was really special. We had to rush. I had to quickly like run back and get over for Bring Me the Horizon because I wanted to see it, but also I got to be in it. So
Yeah.
that was a fantastic day.
Oh my God. I mean, it felt like a real vintage download this year, I gotta say. Like it was very, very
Oh,
special for a lot of reasons. But like the Bring Me moment was amazing as well, because I mean, I'd been tipped off, funnily enough, but I'd still love the fact that I was just watching these kids because I was like in the heart of the crowd of it and just seeing these kids and like the shadow comes down and the hood's up and they're like, no, it
yeah.
can't be, it can't be, and like losing their minds. It was just so, so cool. And what a lovely kind of not just great to be able to do it with them, obviously, but like it was such a big moment for them. Like you say, it's an event that you've had a long affiliation with. Like, what a perfect time to make that happen.
They're really good at that at the show. Like they really conceptualize like big ideas and make them come true. And they've been a band that's been really cool and inspiring to watch over the past few years because they're pushing something. Like it's just doesn't you don't know what to expect and it's great. So that was all their idea to have me up and I was just like very excited about it all day.
Obviously, the news is out there now that the reissue is coming. I was having a listen through it all today, and like it's remarkable hearing some of these demos and stuff. And I can only imagine for you, it must have been quite a trip just
Yeah.
kind of actually re-listening and going back and look. Like, did you discover anything about those songs you maybe forgotten about, or like, did it make you look at anything in a new light, breaking it down in this way?
It did. I really had to. It's one of those things where, like I said, like it's not like there's new content, like except for reconnecting with Frank Vronsky and seeing that entire photo shoot from the album, which was really cool to see, and I brought back some memories. But there wasn't, everything has leaked, like every demo Pretty much. I think I found one demo that I couldn't find on the internet that is in there that I was like, okay, I'll make sure to include this one just in case like this maybe something that nobody's ever heard. I think to the fans that aren't that little group of like massive found every demo, I think to the layman, like it would be cool and interesting. But other than that, it was like, well, I gotta come up with something. So I did like a track by track sort of talking about like, okay, I'll write something about each song, but it made me have to like go really listen to it. And we play, a lot of those songs live. I mean, there's at least a piece of all but two or three in our live show right now. So I'm familiar with the songs, but listening to everything on the whole album version, like, and just remembering random stuff like mix notes and also just some of those songs are super old. So yes, it brought back good memories. It brought back some painful memories too. It just like reminded me of old like frustrations and resentments just in that world for me at the time. But I remembered like Imaginary is the reason that we always play it and the reason it's always in our show is because I really felt from a early time like that was like somehow an encompassing core of our sound and like what Evanescence was to me, partially because it had some of that really old material stuff, like it was in our origins demos, all that. But it also is kind of born out of like my love of choir and my high school poetry, junior high poetry days. So like that swallowed up in the sound of my screaming little part was like a sixth grade, seventh grade poem that like I don't remember if it maybe started with that. It was like I just had this little idea and then the song happened. And it's cool that a piece like that is so ancient and like a diary entry, honestly, like just a sweet old, look at my cringy diary with all these embarrassing, poems. It's sweet and it's cool because I think that's the thing about it that I it wouldn't come out like that now because I'm not 13 now. And there is a special beauty in that. And that's kind of why I've never wanted to truly like re-record, reversion, redo Fallen. I could, but like that's kind of what live is for. And the album is precious in a special way. Like I liked being able to remaster it because it just sounds beautiful and polished. You can hear little things pop out better. Um, and I again had to revisit and listen to it all, but I don't know. I didn't want to like I don't know. It would be different. It's cool. We did synthesis already. That was great. Um,
Exactly. You
yeah,
have already kind of done what you wanted to do in
yeah,
that
yeah,
regard. And it's capturing a moment in time, isn't it? You don't want to change that. That's a part of who you were. That's who you were at that particular moment, and that's why
yeah,
it relates to people because we've all been that age, right? I think that kind of
yeah,
that's part of the universal quality to it.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. I'm glad you mentioned Imaginary as well because I mean that's a good example, but also just all over it, it's remarkable. Just listening to it back to back for a while, like which I hadn't done in a long time. Just like it's so ambitious for a debut album, and I mean that like how many debut albums, especially from a rock band, go no, we're putting the choral arrangements in there, we're putting the strings on there. It's a bold move, and it's even bolder that it obviously works incredibly well and sounds really coherent. But like, talk to me about, did you have to fight for that element a little bit? Like, I mean, on a debut album, that's such a kind of that's a big swing to take in a lot of ways.
It helps when you have something that you really want to do that you're going to fight for, right? But that you have the ability to do. So what I mean is like if I had a crazy idea of like I want like Gregorian chants or like an all boys choir, like something that I couldn't actually make happen, it would be a lot harder like because like okay, well we're going to spend all this money on finding somebody to create the sound and then find the team and then it's like that's at least with choir specifically, like I had in high school, I was the choir president. Um, I loved choir. I was like inspired by a lot of that old Celtic and like Latin hymn stuff. So I kind of and I took Latin. So like I was like, I'll write it, I'll do everything. All you gotta do is help me like put together like a small team of vocalists. Like it's not gonna be that expensive. Like we can make this happen. I think just having the moxie or whatever it is, like to go, I'll put it together. All you have to do is just trust me, like artistically. And that still is a
Mm,
fight. It was harder to fight for real strings because that's just expensive. That's just something that costs a whole lot of money. But to me, like that was so key to what our sound was. Like the whole idea was that it was like if a heavy band with riff driven cool stuff and pop hooks also like head on collision with a film score, like a
mm,
dark film score. And if it didn't have that film score part of it, it would have felt like so much was missing. And I do remember having the discussion with the label about like, hey, there's ways like we can make it sound real, like with pads and stuff. They're better than they used to be. And I just always like, no, no, whatever it is, like, we're on the hook for it in the end. I promise we'll get the money paid back. Like we have to have real strings. It has to be real.
mm,
And then we ended up with David Campbell, who is like one of the absolute best in the industry for that. And we've had just a lifelong career long partnership now that I'm so grateful for. I remember that as much as being influenced by music that we loved, we were really inspired by film and go to the movies all the time. And part of that is just an age and high school and whatever, all that. But a lot of it was just like, this is like research, like cool, I don't know, Donnie Darko, Edward Scissorhands. And a lot of it for me was like I was really learning that my favorite part about film was the music for the film. Not so much the soundtracks, that's great too, but like the score.
mm.
Like the music is what makes you know how to feel. And there is a whole sub story going on underneath that you are feeling things that are deeper than just the words and actions of the characters. So that's why I started getting really inspired by like, okay, well, I want to be in a band, but I would really like to score film, and like was going to school for that when we got signed.
Wow. I mean, yeah, it comes through. It's so funny how it's like it's just the other side of the coin, really, isn't it? It's yeah, there's elements of overtures in this record. It's just funny how that kind
Yeah,
of seeps through a
I
lot
know
of
it's
the time.
funny because we were so young. Because it's like,
Mm.
oh, but I didn't know any better. It's like, cool, I'm 20 and I want to be Mozart. What? Why not?
It's a good ambition to have. I respect that. That's you got to aim high with these things. That's all good. I want to mention Everybody's Fool because obviously, I mean, subject matter wise, you've talked about that in the past, kind of lyrically where that kind of came from, and a lot of kind of frustrations with fame and frustrations with success and stuff. It's interesting writing a song like that so early in your career as well, like before obviously your fame and the success level of the band just absolutely skyrocketed after this was
Yeah,
released.
it took on a new meaning. Songs sort of
Yeah.
do that.
Well, I
Yeah.
guess I think that was kind of what I was going to ask. Really, is like how much of that kind of did come to pass for you, and now all these years on, how do you reflect on those kind of lessons and what you were feeling then?
At the time, it was like I was the teenager big sister, and my siblings were younger, like in elementary school. And my two little sisters, who are very close in age, were in their like boy band and pop girl moment. Like, we're going to the concert. And I was like, oh my God, you guys are totally dumb. Listen to real music. I'll show it to you, and be in the car. And I was always trying to influence them with like, I don't know, Green Day and whatever else. Nirvana songs that didn't have horrible things in the imagery.
Sure.
Um like so and they did like it. Like I did have them in that way, but at the same time like they were going through this like it just not just about the stars, but also like in school and like cliques and like what you look like seemed like just a really big focus. Like what you looked like, who liked you, all that stuff that everybody goes through that. But I remember like just in my like contrasting ponderance like about what I felt like and what I wanted to be and what I wanted to influence them like to be is like this isn't that great, it's not real. I think what I was really feeling like I wanted to say was like what I respect is authenticity,
Mm.
and that should be the thing that we're trying to win, not the beauty contest, is like the authenticity prize. Like just be yourself. But then of course strangely soon after, I found myself in the spotlight really fast in a really big way where you are on a stage for people to just look at you and talk about you like an object, and that was hard. That was a weird time for me because I was really young and really never bought into all that, but when it's happening to you on, like, a really large scale, you can't just tune it out and, like, leave the cafeteria. Like, you have to actually face it and go, "Okay, this is my career, like, how do I, um, be the most of myself and show all the parts of myself that I really want to be seen and not be misunderstood?" I just felt really misunderstood.
Mm.
But, I think the lesson really is, like, you have to keep on and, like, look at yourself, look at the real friends, people around you that really know you, and, remember who you are apart from it. It's always been good for me to take breaks from this. I don't think I need to anymore the way that I did. I know who I am. I know I was born to be here, but it was always important for me to step away and be like, "I'm not Amy Lee. I'm just Amy still." Like, if it
Right.
never happened, like, who I still am has to be, the same person. I still have hold of my identity, which is ever changing. Like, it still has room to grow. I'm not stuck as that album cover picture forever, even though that is still a perception in probably millions of people's minds.
Mm.
So you just have to give yourself the freedom to keep growing, I guess.
Yeah, I think. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like when we've been talking around like the last album and everything, it feels like you're in such a good place creatively, but also just from a just general life standpoint. You know, we came out of the pandemic, obviously, and then with this record, it feels like you're in a place where you are free to do whatever you want at this point. You can like,
Yeah,
and you can have those gaps, like you say, but like the
it's like
audience
that.
are there and they're coming with you, right? It's got to be a kind of a nice place to be at this point in your
It
career where
is.
you know they're going to follow.
It's a beautiful place to be. This, touring really since the pandemic, since we came back and we had a new album to play with and everything else, is really felt like a celebratory moment, especially the last year and a half or so. Everybody's happy, just seeing fans that we've seen in the crowd forever, but also, like we said, seeing new people and having fun together. And you learn stuff after years of doing it too. So like when we go on tour to a faraway, awesome place like Japan or Australia, like I know like I'm gonna want a day or two. Like we need to have fun. So I'm like, hey, we're not gonna just bang, 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 show, 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 fly. Like we're gonna have a day in between. Like we're gonna get there in time to have dinner if we want, like take a walk, see something new, and hang out together because this is our life. Like, this is our time. You spend a month on tour. Where did the time go? Like on stage, yeah, that's only 1 hour out of the day. So like, we're living life together. And I mean, how could I ask for more? I have
Yeah.
such an incredible group of people.